Caesar was not a moral man. Indeed, in many respects he seems amoral. It does seem to have been true that his nature was kind, generous, and inclined to forget grudges and turn enemies into friends, but he was also willing to be utterly ruthless. He was an inveterate womanizer, disloyal to his wives and his numerous lovers. Cleopatra is by far the most famous of these, and the romance may have been genuine on both sides, but it did not stop Caesar from having an affair with another queen soon afterwards, or from continuing his pursuit of the aristocratic women of Rome. He was extremely proud, even vain, especially of his appearance. It is hard to avoid the conclusion that from a young age Caesar was absolutely convinced of his own superiority. Much of this self-esteem was justified, for he was brighter and more capable than the overwhelming majority of other senators. Perhaps, like Napoleon, he was so fascinated by his own character that this made it easier to enthrall others. Also, like the French emperor, there were many contradictions in his character. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle once wrote of Napoleon that he was a wonderful man, perhaps the most wonderful man who ever lived. What strikes me is the lack of finality in his character. When you make up your mind that he is a complete villain, you come on some noble trait, and then your admiration of this is lost in some act of incredible meanness. There is something of the same odd mixture with Caesar, although perhaps it was less extreme. It is striking that while today academics are supposed to be trained to examine the past dispassionately, it is very rare to meet an ancient historian who does not have a strong opinion about Caesar. In the past, some have admired, even idolized him, seeing him as a visionary who perceived the huge problems facing the Republic and realized how to solve them. Others are far more critical and view him as merely another aristocrat with very traditional ambitions, who scrambled to the top regardless of the cost to law and precedent, but then had no clear idea of what to do with his power. Such commentators tend to emphasize the opportunism that marked his rise to power. Caesar certainly was an opportunist, but the same has surely been true of virtually every successful politician. He believed strongly in the power of chance in all human affairs, and felt that he was especially lucky. With hindsight, we know that Octavian, these days more often referred to as Augustus, created the system through which emperors would rule the Roman Empire for centuries. Debate rages over the extent to which Caesar's years in control of Rome began what Augustus was able to complete, or were a false start, and only provided an example that his adopted son consciously avoided in an effort to escape the same fate. Opinion remains fiercely divided, and it is unlikely that this will ever change. The truth probably lies somewhere between the extreme views.